All right, so the first step to sewing any band or cuff is going to be to fold it widthwise and sew. In most cases it will be the short end, but when you have a grow cuff that's going to be longer than it is wide, it's going to be your long ends. So the way you can tell usually is if it's been cut correctly, then the grain should be running like this. And I'll show you that close up. Okay, so this is going to be harder to see on video than it is on a picture, but oh, there we go. There's a grain that's running from top to bottom of this piece. And if you've cut it correctly, then you should be able to go by that grain. Now, if you're not sure if you've cut it correctly, what you should do is go back to your pattern piece and look at which way the grain is showing that it should be running, and then measure the side that has the same length as the grain line. And the side that is running parallel to the grain line is going to be the side that you want to sew first. If you've cut it incorrectly, you have two choices. You can either sew it the opposite way, which on a fabric with four-way stretch isn't usually a big deal, or you can recut your pieces. Okay, so here you have two cuffs and a neckband with the edge that is parallel to the grain sewn. So your next step is going to be to fold it wrong sides together, and you're going to mark it with a pin or a clip at the seam and evenly spaced at 4 points. So start with the one that is opposite to your seam. Okay, now you've got two evenly spaced clips. You can also use pins. And then put those clips or pins together and mark the points that are halfway between those. There, now you've got a neckband that is ready to be pinned or clipped to your neck hole. And an armband would work the same way. Okay, now you've got a cuff. So the cuffs obviously are going to be a little longer. Well, these are grow cuffs, so they're extra long. But your hole is going to be a little smaller. But it works exactly the same way. You just match up that seam and put a pin or a clip there. And then do one exactly across from it. Now you can do 4, but generally I find with smaller cuffs, it's not really necessary to do 4. You can just do 2. Because it's such a small space anyways that that extra pins or clips are just going to get in the way. Now this is a size 3 cuff, so it's pretty small. It's for a 3-year-old. Okay, so as you can see, I've now sewn the side seams. So that's the under part of the sleeve and then all the way down to the bottom hem. So when you're attaching a neckband or an armband, the first thing you want to do is mark the center back and the center front with a pin or a clip. So you're going to fold it to find the front. The back was easy on this one because there's a seam. But there's a lot of patterns that don't have a seam at the back. Okay, so that's done. Now you're going to find the halfway point between these. And a lot of people mistakenly think that it's at the shoulder seam, but it's not usually. So you want to make sure you get the correct halfway point. Okay, now that you've got your neck hole evenly quartered, and you can do this with an armhole as well, you're going to put the neckband or the armband on it. Now there's two ways to do this. You can either do it with the garment inside out, or you can do it with it right side out. Either way, the important thing is that the band goes on the right side of the fabric. So I'll show you right side out. A lot of people have different preferences, so it really is correct either way. So this is how you would do it right side out. So you're going to want to take the seam in the band and match it up with the back point. Now, because this is the right side of the fabric, I'm putting the band against the right side of the fabric. So I'm just going to remove that clip, and you can do this with pins as well, and put that in place. Now, make sure that your band isn't twisted, and then just start matching up your 4 points. There. Now you've got your band attached to your neck hole on the outside, right side of the fabric. So when it's like this, you're going to sew it like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to gently stretch the band so that it's the same length as the neck hole or the armhole, and then you're just going to sew. And you're going to do that all the way around, gently stretching so the band is the same length as the hole. And with an armband, if you were doing it around an armhole, you would want the seam to be at the bottom of the armhole. Okay, now I'm going to show you my preferred method, which is actually to do it with the garment inside out. So it works exactly the same way, except you're putting it on the inside instead of on the outside. So start with your seam, match it up with the back. And then you're just tucking it inside. It's just a little easier this way because then you don't have to stretch it while you're attaching it. You only have to stretch it while you're sewing it. All right, there you go. Now, either way, you're going to want to make sure you pin the loose edges of the insert in before you sew. So stretch that back section so it's the same length, and then just bring the edges of the insert along and pin everything together, because you'll be sewing that in along with the neckband so that it's stays secure and isn't flapping around inside the dress or top. There we go. So when you're sewing, in this case, you're going to lay it along the sewing machine like this and gently stretch it so that the neckband matches, and then just keep sewing around and all the way around. Okay, so placing the cuffs is done in exactly the same way. You can either do it with the sleeve inside out and put the cuff inside. You're going to want to match up the seams. Place it inside. Match up the seams. And then just stretch the cuff to match the size of the sleeve hole. And put the other clip or pin in place. Or you can do it with the sleeve right side out and place the cuff over top, but again, this is going to be a little harder because you'll have to stretch it. It's just a matter of preference. Some people prefer to do it inside out, and some people prefer to do it right side out. And stretch it, make sure it's the same size, and clip or pin.